this story already felt stronger to me. I felt like we had stronger actors. I really enjoyed following Sadie Sink. Hey there, it's Kristen, and today we're talking about the second film in Netflix's Fear Street trilogy, Fear Street 1978. Led by Sadie Sink, Chiara Aurelia, and Gillian Jacobs, Fear Street Part 2 1978 is about a summer of fun that turns into a gruesome fight for survival as a killer terrorizes Camp Nightwing and the cursed town of Shadyside. Consider subscribing if you like my videos, and drop down in the comments and let me know your thoughts on the second film in the Fear Street trilogy. Did you love it? Did you hate it? I'd love to hear your thoughts. So even though it is very hot out and we were talking about summer camp horror, I have dug out my Goosebumps sweatshirt to represent for the R.L. Stine stans like myself. I am a huge R.L. Stine fan. I grew up reading Fear Street, so I've been so excited for this franchise. If you guys missed it, I reviewed Fear Street 1994 last week. I will leave a link right here for you. Even though I'm the biggest Fear Street book stan, I will say I didn't love 1994, but I have different thoughts about 1978, so I'm excited to talk about it. So this film starts off right where 1994 ended, with Dina and her brother going to see Berman to find out how they can stop all of this chaos. Is there any way that they can save Sam, because now she has been possessed by some type of monstrous something that is turning her into one of these Shadyside killers. And they're hoping C. Berman is able to tell the story of what happened at Camp Nightwing when she was a kid and how they were able to survive. This is a story within a story. We are watching this flashback to 1978 of C. Berman talking about her experience at the camp. I think in terms of like tackling the 70s, I found myself connecting with this a bit more than the 90s, potentially because I didn't grow up in the 70s, so you know, it's a little bit further removed from me, so I can like believe it, whereas the 90s I was kind of like, I don't know if this really feels that 90s. But with 1978, you know, I loved the color scheme, I really liked the outfits, I love the setting of being in a camp. I will say though, while I enjoyed the tribute to those camp-style horror films like Friday the 13th, it also kind of didn't really make sense with this setting because those films didn't come out until the 80s, and this film is set in 1978. It starts off really strong with Sadie Sink as Ziggy, who is being attacked by other campers, including Chiara Aurelia, who we love from Cruel Summer. They're jokingly trying to hang her as a witch and burn her, and it's like really intense. And right off the bat, I feel like this story already felt stronger to me. I felt like we had stronger actors. I really enjoyed following Sadie Sink and Emily Rudd and Ted Sutherland as these young campers. Ted Sutherland playing a young Nick Good, so already we're having a connection now to 1994. And I think this film showed us just how well the first film set up things, because a lot of moments are coming up here that are direct connections to that. For instance, the killer Ruby Lane and her mother, who was a nurse. They make reference to her in that first movie, and now we actually get to see Nurse Lane in action at camp, and this was kind of like right after what happened with her daughter and how she kind of snapped and killed a whole bunch of people. Cindy's boyfriend Tommy is the one that ends up snapping in this movie and going on a killing spree. I thought this setup worked better than in 1994 because we actually got to know more about this person before they became a possessed killer, and just in general I thought we got to learn so much more about these characters, and there was much more depth here to me than in 1994. And then you start piecing things together. You know, they find this underground cave type of situation, and there's all these names here. It's clearly some type of witch style ritual, and it's like, okay, well, all the names here are the people that have become killers at Shadyside that have snapped, so clearly they're possessed. There's this creepy blob that is definitely demonic and evil, and I really liked how we were able to discover with everyone what was going on, and also the different relationships that they set up in this film. We're following these sisters who struggle to connect. One of them is rebelling while the other one is very strict and tight-laced and trying to get out of Shadyside, because even in 1978 there is this darkness around Shadyside. I also thought it was really interesting to see the connection between Ziggy and Nick Good. Clearly there's something going on with him. I felt like he gave weird vibes in 1994. He seemed really nice in 1978. So what does that mean? I think he's definitely someone to watch. I just think that the way that they're telling this story is so unique because we kind of get more information as you go back in time. We start learning more about the story of Sarah Fier, and there's this myth that she had cut off her hand and made a deal with the devil that she would always haunt Shadyside. And in this film in 1978 they find that hand, and they're like, okay, if we reunite this hand with her body underneath this hanging tree, this should stop everything, right? And so they go to do that while they're trying to escape Tommy the killer and all these other monsters, and instead they find a rock that was carved saying that the body was moved. And so that kind of throws a whole new twist into things. By the end of this film, You know, it's really Ziggy and her sister Cindy trying to save each other and protect each other. One of the things though that did not really make any sense is that there's a lot of times, even in the first film, but especially in this one, where people are getting stabbed and stabbed and stabbed and stabbed, and they're not dying. One of the last moments is Nick Good coming up to Ziggy trying to save her and giving her like chest compressions. That's something that would work if you're drowning, not like if you were stabbed. In another twist, it turns out that he was able to save Ziggy, and Ziggy is actually Christine Berman, C. Berman of 1994. So, you know, that was a big reveal because the whole time, you know, she even looks like she would be the character Cindy with the color of her hair and everything, but nope, big twist. That was Ziggy that survived, and you really see how much she's changed, because when she was young she was so tough and strong, and now as an adult she's like a hermit. She's like afraid to leave her house. She's really haunted by what happened. But what we get out of this story now is that Ziggy, C. Berman, knows where that hand is, still under that tree, which is now in the Shadyside Mall, and our 1994 characters know where the body is, because Sam accidentally touching those bones is what got everyone involved. So now leading into 1666, with the hand and the body connected, we're finally gonna learn what really went on with Sarah Fear and the other pilgrims that were in the Shadyside area. And I think that's gonna be really interesting. I can't wait to see what goes on there and how they're gonna stop this generational trauma and horror that has been going on. I think while this film didn't have as much gore as possibly, you know, the last one, I mean, 1994, there's people whose heads are going through the bread slicers. This didn't really have that. Instead, I think it really had that fun, kind of like Friday the 13th camp vibe. I felt like I really connected with the journey and the growth that Cindy went through over the course of this film, and just that story of sisterhood, that idea of reconnecting and wanting to do anything you can to help and save your family. I absolutely think they did a great job in connecting the two films. I really loved how there were a couple of like hints of things from that first one that really played a big role in this film. I thought that was really well done, and I cannot wait to see how they end the story in 1666. If you guys like this one, you can check out more of my Fear Street videos right over here, and I'll catch you in the next one. See ya!